How you doing, man? You got some ID on you?
Good morning, gentlemen. God bless our homeless veterans.
Yep, I'm a vet too, man.
All right, cool.
Air Force.
All right.
You got your ID on you?
What for?
Vagrancy.
Vagrancy.
Yes, sir. So, do you have your ID on you?
Am I required to give you ID?
Yes, you are.
What happened if I don't give it to you?
You're going to jail. Period.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Sir, I'm standing on a public sidewalk engaged in constitutionally protected
Correct.
activity.
Correct. But I'm letting you know you're going to go to jail, no questions asked.
Even if I'm standing on a public
Yes,
sidewalk?
yes. How many times do I got to explain it to you?
So if I don't give you ID, I'm going to
You're
jail.
going to jail for failure to identify.
Can I just leave?
If you wish to do so, but I need to identify you.
I don't wish to do so. I'd like to stay here and express my...
You're not going to stay here, period. I'm going to let you know.
Do I have to leave?
Yes,
Why?
because I'm instructing you. I'm giving you a lawful order to leave.
And if I don't leave,
You're going to jail
I'll go to jail.
for
And
failure.
your Officer Sergeant Joffrian?
Sergeant Joffrion, Officer Andrews.
All right, y'all have a good day.
You got your ID with you?
So if I don't leave, I'll go to jail.
Yep. Give me your ID first.
And if I don't give you ID, I'll go to jail.
Yes.
Even though I've explained to you that I'm engaged in constitutionally protected
I don't
activity,
care if you explain it to me or not.
safeguarded by the First Amendment. It's
Okay.
freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly on a traditional public forum, the steps of City Hall.
Correct.
I'm not begging for
You got
money.
your ID?
I'm not begging for money.
Okay. You got your ID.
Do I need to show you my ID?
You need to show me your ID. Yes, sir.
Or what?
You're going to jail.
What
Doesn't
is,
matter if you commit a crime or not. You have to identify in reference to a complaint because you're violating.
you need to have reasonable articulable suspicion that a crime is afoot. You
Okay,
can't,
I do have reasonable suspicion. I just instructed you. So,
vagrancy?
yeah. correct.
What ordinance is that?
City ordinance. Go
Even
look it
though
up.
I've explained to you that I'm
You
engaged
don't
in
need to-
constitutionally
you
protected...
don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care. This isn't some free will state, man. This is how it is in the state of Mississippi.
So you don't have freedom in the state of
And
Mississippi?
if you don't like it, you can go back to Florida. Period.
Did you take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution when you served?
I absolutely did.
Yeah, and you're not doing that right now.
Okay, that's your
Did you
opinion.
take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution when
that
you
is your opinion.
became a cop?
That is your opinion.
Then you're not doing it right now.
That's your opinion.
Central to Waywood 14.
Go ahead.
10-4, that 27's going to come back to a Marcus Jeffrey, valid, negative 29s, negative 4s.
Come on. All right, Mr. Jeffrey, you're free to go.
Pretty good. Can I
All
stay?
No, you cannot stay. You got to go.
So if I don't go, I'll go to jail.
Correct. You're a lawful order not to come back.
Right. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give and the following thoughts to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
All right, Sergeant Joffrion, I think you know what we're here about. Have you reviewed the body cam footage that was obtained during your interaction with Mr. Gray?
Yes.
When was the last time that you reviewed that?
Yesterday.
What's your understanding of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution?
I don't recall. I'm not an expert as far as
Do you know what the First Amendment protects at all?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution
recall.
protects? Do you know what the Mississippi Constitution provides regarding the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government?
Don't recall.
Do you know what the Constitution of the state of Mississippi provides regarding freedom of speech and the freedom of press?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the Mississippi Constitution provides with regard to deprivation of life, liberty, or property without due process of law?
I'm not a lawyer.
I understand that you're a law enforcement officer, not a lawyer. My question was very simple. Do you know?
I don't recall.
Mr. Gray asked you in this video if you had undertaken an oath to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and you responded yes. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And did you also take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Mississippi?
I don't recall.
But you would agree that your oath required you to abide by the Constitution, whatever it may require.
Repeat the question.
You would agree that your oath required you to uphold the Constitution, whatever it may require.
Which oath?
Your oath of office. You took an oath to be a police officer, didn't you?
I don't recall.
Do you recall telling Mr. Gray that you had taken an oath?
I don't recall what a video states.
What training did you have regarding law enforcement in the Air Force?
Basic law enforcement.
And what does that include?
Can't think off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Just law enforcement stuff.
When you went to the Law Enforcement Academy, what training did you receive on vagrancy laws,
I can't even remember.
stop and frisk laws?
I never ran over frisk, stop and frisk.
And what training do you remember?
Patting down subjects for weapons. That's it. No
Do you remember any training on what was required before you could stop someone and frisk them?
I can't recall, to be honest with you.
Do you recall any training on statutes that were require someone to identify themselves?
I can't recall.
Do you recall any training at the Law Enforcement Academy about First Amendment?
I can't recall.
Do you recall any training about the Fourth Amendment?
I can't.
What are the Waveland Police Department policies on interaction with the public when they are engaged in expressive conduct?
You have to get with them as far as that.
You're a supervisor at the Waveland Police Department, and you don't know the policies on interactions with the public engaged in expressive conduct.
It's not something I study over. I can't recall.
Who would know the policies of the city of Waveland or the Waveland Police Department with regarding to persons engaged in expressive conduct?
I don't know.
Have you taken, since you completed the Law Enforcement Academy, any continuing education courses?
Yes.
Do you have a list of those?
No.
What do you recall?
SWAT school.
Anything else?
Can't recall.
Do you have any continuing education courses on the First or Fourth Amendment?
I can't recall.
You said that you watched the body cam footage yesterday. Having reviewed that within the last 24 hours, is there anything that you thought you could have done better?
I could have handled it a little different.
How?
Could have reworded some things.
What things?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Do you need to watch the video again?
No, I don't.
So if your testimony is that you could have reworded some things, but you don't know what things,
I know what things.
what things?
Just handled it better. Talked a little different.
How?
I don't know. I'm not in those shoes right now.
Well, part of this is we have the benefit of hindsight. We also have the benefit of having reviewed what happened. I don't know how many times you've watched the video, at least once. But other than rewording some things, and you can't say which things, you can't tell me anything that you would have done differently or done better.
Same objection. Well, I have to think on that.
Well, how can you say that there are things you would have done, but I can't answer the question as to what they would have been?
I just know I could have handled it better, but it will give me time to think on it.
Right. So, did you make any mistakes?
No.
Tell me what the elements of vagrancy are.
Check to the phone. I can't think of off the top of my head right now. I'm not
Tell me what you recall. Tell me what you recall are the elements of the crime of vagrancy.
I can't recall. I don't know the laws by heart. I just know what certain crimes are. I'm not a lawyer.
So what is the crime of vagrancy?
I can't say it verbatim. Give you.
I'm not asking for verbatim. I'm asking you to tell me, you said you just know what the laws are. What is the crime of vagrancy?
Can't answer that right now on top of my head.
Well, you accused Mr. Gray of vagrancy the moment you stepped out of your cruiser. What were you accusing him of doing?
Harassing customers.
So is vagrancy harassing?
I didn't mention that to him.
I didn't ask that. Is vagrancy harassing? Is that what you think the crime of vagrancy is? So what is the crime of vagrancy?
Can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
You don't know what the crime of vagrancy is.
If I had that statute in front of me, I could then tell you.
Are you aware that the statute had been repealed 5 years before you accused Mr. Gray of vagrancy?
Correct.
All right, so how did he commit the crime of vagrancy? How could he possibly have committed a crime that had been repealed 5 years ago that you can't even define?
I didn't arrest him or identify him off of vagrancy.
Do we need to watch the video?
If you want to watch it, you can. I'm not.
Well, let's watch the beginning of the video. Up to this point that we're talking about with vagrancy. That was you speaking, correct?
Correct.
And he asked you why you needed to see identification, and you said vagrancy.
Okay.
All right. So what is vagrancy?
I'm not a lawyer.
But you are a law enforcement officer
Correct.
that was dispatched by Chief Investigator Hersey for harassing and peeping through windows.
Correct.
And not the first, but near the first word out of your mouth is vagrancy, which we've already established is a crime that was repealed 5 years earlier.
Correct.
So I'm trying to understand, Mr. Joffrey, on why you approached Mr. Gray, who's standing there holding a sign, and accused him of vagrancy.
How did I accuse him of it?
He asked why you would need identification, and you responded vagrancy. Do we need to play this again?
You can play it.
Do you need to see it again to know that that's what
I
happened?
don't need to say anything.
So you did accuse him of vagrancy.
I didn't accuse him of vagrancy.
So why did you? Why would you say the word vagrancy?
I don't know.
Well, who would know?
Can't answer that.
Then you respond that you had received several complaints that Mr. Gray was begging for food, money, stuff like that. And you had not personally observed Mr. Gray begging for food, money, or anything of the sort, had you?
Negative.
Who had you received a complaint from that he was begging for food, money, and stuff like that?
That would be, I don't know.
Well, you said you got several complaints that he was begging, but you don't know who any of the several complaints are.
I didn't receive any complaints that he was begging for money.
Where did you get the
Begging for food.
information? I'm sorry. Where did you get the information that there had been several complaints that he was begging for food, money, and stuff like that?
Top of my head.
So you hadn't received several complaints.
I have received several complaints
Then
that
who
he was
made,
harassing people.
but that's not what we're talking about, not harassing. You said several complaints, begging for food, money, stuff like that. Who were the several complainants?
Who knows? I don't know.
So what was your basis of your statement that there were several complaints? He was begging for food, money, and stuff like that.
Harassing customers.
What customers?
I'm not sure.
So you said to Mr. Gray that you had received several complaints that he was begging for food, money, stuff like that, and he responded, "That's not true." And you said, "Well, I'm just out here for that reason," and again asked for identification.
Mhm.
I need a yes.
Yes.
All right. And he asked you whether he was required to provide identification, and you responded that he was. And he asked, "If I don't, what will happen?" And you said, "You're going to jail, period." Do you
Yes.
recall saying that?
Yes.
All right. So what were you going to take Mr. Gray to jail for if he did not provide you identification?
Failure to comply
Failure to comply with what?
with the lawful order.
And what was the lawful order?
Identification.
Under what circumstances are you entitled to demand identification from a person?
Reasonable suspicion that crime occurred.
All right. And what reasonable suspicion did you have that he had committed a crime?
Harassing customers. Peeping through windows. Repeatedly asking people for money.
All right. But you just told me that you're not aware of one single person.
I don't know their names.
Well, who did you speak to? Where did you interact with these persons?
Beforehand, I didn't.
Then you said you're going to jail for failure to identify. What ordinance or state code section is the crime of failure to identify?
There isn't one.
Right. Why would you say that you're going to jail for failure to identify?
Who knows? I don't know.
You also said that you were investigating Mr. Gray in your report for violation of Waveland City Ordinance 82-1, peddling. What constitutes the crime of peddling?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I don't recall.
How could you be investigating Mr. Gray for peddling if you don't know what peddling is?
I knew what it was then. But I'll have to refresh my memory.
What caused it to be fresh in your memory on May 30th, 2023 at approximately 9:46 a.m. that it's not fresh October 9, 2024?
I have no idea.
Your testimony is that on May 30th, 2023, you knew what the crime of peddling consisted of.
Correct. Not a crime. City ordinance.
Whatever peddling may be, is committing that not a crime?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a law enforcement officer.
But you wrote a report, Mr. Joffrion, that said crime description peddling.
Correct.
So according to your report, you were investigating Mr. Gray for peddling.
Stalking, harassing.
Well, it's both.
Yeah, correct.
What constitutes the elements of a violation of city ordinance number 38?
I have no idea. Not off the top of my head. I don't recall.
Did you know on May 30th, 2023?
I don't recall either where my mind was or what I was thinking.
Sergeant Joffrion was advised that that there had been several complaints regarding him asking for money, parentheses, violation of city ordinance number 38, in paren, and harassing residents. And you have no idea what city ordinance 38 is.
I'll have to go back and look at it.
And then your report also says, in reference to a male harassing citizens and panhandling.
Correct.
Is panhandling a crime?
Panhandling?
Yes.
What's the definition of a panhandling?
Well, that was going to be my next question to you. My first question, though, is panhandling a crime?
I'm not a lawyer, I'm not sure.
Well, you described his conduct as panhandling. What is panhandling?
I'm not sure, I'm not a lawyer.
Well, what were you describing in your report where you use that word?
Been over a year ago, I'm not sure, I don't recall.
Do you need to review the report to refresh your recollection?
Negative.
So even reviewing your report now, having seen the body cam video in the last 24 hours, you can't say what you were talking about with panhandling.
Can't remember, I can't recall.
And then Mr. Gray says, can I just leave? You said, if you wish to do so, but I need to identify you first. Do you agree with me at that point, Mr. Gray was not free to leave?
He was detained because he's been investigated of a possible crime.
So he was not free to leave. He was being detained.
Yes,
And if he had attempted to leave, what would have happened?
went to jail.
Mr. Gray said that he would like to stay there. Do you remember saying that you're not going to stay here, period?
Sure.
And why was Mr. Gray not permitted to stay there?
I can't recall.
Was Mr. Gray on a public sidewalk?
Yes,
Is City Hall a public property?
yes,
Why was he not free to stay there and continue what he was doing?
I'm not sure.
But you told him that he wasn't. And now you don't know why you said it.
Correct. Been over a year ago.
Then he asked why he had to leave, and you said, because I'm instructing you. I'm giving you a lawful order to leave. You remember saying that?
Yes,
What was your authority for a, quote, lawful order that he must leave the public sidewalk on the public city hall?
sure.
Then you told him that if he didn't leave, he was going to jail again. Do you remember saying that?
I don't recall.
And in your report, you said Sergeant Joffrey Allen advised if he did not leave, he was going to jail for disorderly conduct. What is the crime of disorderly conduct?
I don't have the law book in front of me.
Who was he disturbing?
That's why I was investigating.
What conduct was he committing that was disorderly?
That's why I was investigating.
What conduct did you observe that had breached the peace?
That's why I was investigating.
No. What conduct had you observed that was a breach of the peace?
I didn't observe any conduct.
What conduct were you investigating that was a breach of the peace?
What's in the report? Stalking, harassing.
Panhandling, city ordinance number 38, peddling, none of which we can define. Mr. Gray ultimately provided you with his identification, correct?
Correct.
And what did you do once you received his identification?
Render's information.
Ran it through what?
Hancock County Dispatch.
And do you know what databases they queried?
Not understand what you said.
You provided his, I believe it was his driver's license number to dispatch, correct?
Correct.
And they did something with it. Do you know what they did with it?
I don't work in dispatch.
That's not what I asked.
No,
For what purpose did you provide that information to dispatch?
Say that again?
For what purpose did you provide Mr. Gray's driver's license number to dispatch?
To obtain his information,
What information?
his personal information,
What information?
his information,
What?
his information.
I don't know what that means. What information?
His information. I'm gonna keep it as that.
You can't answer what information you were trying to obtain.
His basic information, his name, date of birth, all that.
So his name, his date of birth, did you want his address?
No, I didn't want his address.
You had his name on his driver's license,
Mhm.
correct? Had his date of birth on the driver's license as well. Even though you said you didn't want his address, that was on the driver's license as well. So for what purpose did you provide his driver's license number to dispatch?
Reason suspicion that is committed crime.
What was dispatch going to do with it?
I don't know.
All right, we can quit beating around the bush, Mr. Joffrey. You provided that number to dispatch so that they could run a background check on Mr. Gray, correct?
Correct.
To see if he had any outstanding warrants, correct?
That was not the sole purpose. No.
I didn't ask if it was the sole purpose. Was it a purpose?
What do you mean?
Did you provide that information to dispatch to determine whether Mr. Gray had any outstanding warrants?
Primarily, or is it additional information?
For any reason?
For any reason to arrest him because he had a warrant? I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm asking, I'm still trying to understand why you provided the information to dispatch if you wanted to know who he was and his date of birth, which was in the piece of laminated paper in your hand,
I advise you the other reason.
to get his basic information.
Correct.
But you already had his basic information. It was in your hand.
Okay.
So why would you go to another step of providing that to someone else if you weren't trying to run a background check on him?
I did not run a background check on him.
You asked dispatch to do that, didn't they?
No,
They didn't?
no.
You said, I'll give you your ID once it comes back. Comes back from where?
Dispatch.
So again, what were you waiting on dispatch to come back with?
His information.
What information?
His personal information.
His name
That's what I just said a few minutes ago.
and his date of birth,
Correct.
which you already had. So what information were you waiting for dispatch to come back with that you did not already have?
So they could log him on a CAD for report purposes.
Now, what is CAD?
I'm not sure.
What is CAD used for?
Reports and along other things.
What other things?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, was a warrant check performed on Mr. Gray?
I don't know. I don't work in dispatch.
To your knowledge, was a background check of Mr. Gray performed?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. The dispatcher just said something. Negative 29. What did you catch what she said?
Not really.
Let's try to play it back. What did she say? Negative 29? What does that mean?
You would add that, you would dispatch.
What does negative 4 mean?
You have to with dispatch.
You don't know what it means.
Not the top of my head, no.
So your testimony today under oath is that when she said, comes back to Marcus Jeffrey, valid -29, -4, you did not know what she meant.
I knew what it meant then.
But you don't know what it means today.
No,
Are you still a sergeant with the Waveland Police Department?
correct.
And so if I called you over the radio or dispatch called you over the radio and said, valid -29, -4, you would not know what that means today.
Probably so. Not right now, though.
Why do you not know right now?
Tired.
What is the department's policy on activating the body cams?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
So you don't know when you're supposed to activate them,
I can't recall off the top of my head.
and you're a supervisor at the Waveland Police Department.
Absolutely.
You've been continuously employed by Waveland Police Department since May 30th, 2023,
Absolutely.
and you don't know the policy on body cams.
Not off the top of my head.
How can you perform your job as a sergeant and supervisor at Waveland Police Department if you don't know the policy?
I don't know. You tell me.
At the conclusion of the video, you said, I'm giving you a lawful order not to come back. I think we've established that you can't cite to me any law or statute or ordinance that authorize you to provide a lawful order, correct?
Repeat the question.
You can't cite to me any authority that lets you, as a sergeant for the Waveland Police Department, give a lawful order not to come back to public property.
No.
Is that Waveland Police Department or City of Waveland, Mississippi policy to tell people that they can't return to public property?
No.
Well, how many occasions have you told someone that they can't return to public property?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
More than once?
I have no idea.
You don't know if you've told any person other than Mr. Gray.
Don't know, sir.
Well, what was your basis for telling Mr. Gray that he couldn't stay there, that he had to leave the property under a lawful order?
I don't recall.
You didn't have any authority to tell Mr. Gray that he couldn't stay or that he had to leave the property, did you?
No.
And Mr. Jeffrey, when we started the deposition, we're talking about your biographical information. You mentioned that you had received a number of threats from people. Yes.
Yes.
Any of those threats you believe were made by my client?
I'm not the judgment of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but that's not what I asked. Do you have a reason to believe that my client had made any of those threats?
Yes. I said that.
Which threats do you think that Mr. Gray made?
I'm not sure.
When?
When what?
When did Mr. Gray make a threat that you attribute to him?
I didn't actually say he made a threat. I assumed it has.
And what's that assumption based on?
Everything related to this incident.
You can't cite to anything specific that would lead you to believe that Mr. Gray had threatened you?
We wrote that.
I don't know how to better ask that. You don't have any, you said that you assume Mr. Gray had threatened you. And I'm asking you to provide any information that would lead you to that assumption.
Do I have information pertaining to that?
Anything that would cause you to believe Mr. Gray had threatened you.
Yes, our interaction.
And what was it about the interaction that led you to believe that Mr. Gray would threaten you?
His failure to comply originally.
When you asked for identification?
Argumentative, like I stated in the report.
Do you have any emails or phone messages or phone calls, phone logs, anything of that sort that you could trace back to Mr. Gray?
Not directly.
But I don't deny the fact that a lot of people saw this video and a lot of people were really mad about this video.
Correct.
And some of those people are crazy.
Correct.
I don't countenance people threatening anyone, law enforcement, you in this particular situation.
Thank you.
But, and that's part of the reason that I want to protect your privacy. I saw a lot of that too. A lot of people directed some serious vitriol your way. My concern, though, is simply my client. And whether you have any reason to believe that he was the actor or the instigator of that, other than publishing his YouTube channel.
Instigator, I think so.
Anything other than by putting that on YouTube?
Who knows what kind of comments or direct messages he has stated.
Fair enough. But to your knowledge, has he done anything such as providing your contact information to anyone?
No.
This incident with Mr. Gray blew up pretty fast.
Absolutely.
One of the news articles about this event said that the police department or the city or both, I don't know, was conducting an internal investigation. Were you part of that internal investigation?
I have no idea. I don't watch news.
That's not what I asked Mr. Sergeant Joffrey. Were you part of an internal investigation?
As far as I know, no.
Did anyone from the police department or the city come and interview you about what had happened?
No.
Did anyone provide you with the results of an internal investigation?
No.
Did you receive any sort of counseling or discipline as a result of this event with Mr. Gray?
Why would I? No.